اجلاس بین المللی روز جهانی زن، زنان نیروی تغییر در ایران و صلح و ثبات در جهان، با حضور رئیس جمهور برگزیده مقاومت، 5 مارس 2022، 14 اسفند 1400. قسمت چهارم.
شرکت زنان مبارز از 54 کشور، سخنرانی بیش از 60 تن از زنان برجسته سیاسی از 35 کشور در 4 قاره در ارتباط آنلاین با کنفرانس برلین و زنان مجاهد خلق در اشرف 3.
سخنرانیهای اینگرید بتانکور، کاندیدای ریاست جمهوری کلمبیا، ماریا کاروالهو-وزیر پیشین علوم و آموزش عالی پرتغال، فرانسیس تاونزند، مشاور رئیس جمهور آمریکا 2008.
اینگرید بتانکور، کاندیدای ریاست جمهوری کلمبیا. جهان با یک جنگ آزادی بخش بی سابقه مواجه است. تعداد فزاینده کانونهای شورشی در ایران علیه رژیم می جنگند. آنها جنگجویان مدرن در ایران هستند. الگوهایی که متعهد به تغییر هستند و نقش اساسی در اعتراضات ارائه می کنند. آنها به بقیه مسیر را از تاریکی به روشنایی نشان می‌دهند. در اعتراضات در سراسر ایران، زنان در خط مقدم قرار دارند.
My dear women and men friends of the world, my dear sisters of Ashraf 3, my dearest Miriam, it is with great emotion that I speak to you this year from the Colombian Andes surrounding my native city of Bogota. I want you to have a look at my city. Over there in the horizon, you can see the Andes. And it is from here that I am running as candidate for Colombian presidency with the aim of freeing my fellow countrywomen and countrymen from the inequality and violence triggered by corruption. You see, tyranny has many faces. And we have seen in the last few days one of the worst examples of abuse and unjustifiable violence against women, children and men, and aggression against Ukraine. But women's struggle throughout the world is what unites us all today here. We are here because we are all freedom fighters. We have learned to resist and never give up. And we know that when women are not safe, no one is safe. We women, when we fight for our rights, we fight for the only world that is acceptable, a world based in the respect of human rights. We know that every second, all over the planet, women are fighting every day against tyranny, exclusion, violence, injustice. Every day, women are putting their lives at risk to defend freedom, equality, and their own rights and the rights of their children and their families. Today, we need to pause and examine what our sisters in Iran have accomplished. You see, many of them have lived under tyranny for so many years, born under tyranny, that now the new generations don't have any experience of what a democratic environment means. Nevertheless, against all odds, risking everything, subject to severe violation of the human rights, these young women have joined their elders and taken up the flag against the mullah's dictatorship. They have learned the hard way that tolerance to tyranny is not possible. There cannot be any place for accommodation. Expecting reforms is just another big lie to keep women and men kneeling, silent, and subdued. Iranian women have reached a very important conclusion. They can only achieve their rights with a change of regime in Iran. Therefore, they must play their role in the resistance against the regime. But even more striking, and in a great demonstration of bravery, they went one step further. They realized that it was not enough to take part of the resistance. They realized that to achieve their goals, they had to take responsibility at all levels of the resistance, including political leadership. Tens of thousands of Iranian women of the MEK organization have been executed, and more have been imprisoned and tortured. Thousands of such women are now our sisters that I salute today, continuing as free women the struggle in Arash, in Tirana, in Albania. From the beginning and spontaneously, women have accepted to take various responsibilities in the organization, but they went even further until the presence of women in their highest political leadership positions became the new normal. This was just not only that women were needing to achieve their rights, but it was also a daring mental and cultural shift, a new way of living and relating to each other. This transformation at all levels required full participation of the women and men at all levels. It meant changing the paradigm, offering a new role model for women and men alike. This was a very difficult task to put in practice. and it is one of the most impressive achievements of the Iranian resistance. But we all know that this wouldn't have been possible without the leadership of Miriam Rajavi. When we celebrate Women's Day in the world, we need to make a special place to honor Miriam Rajavi's struggle. Through her determination, through her strength, through her resilience, through her charisma and vision, she transformed the Iranian resistance from a military organization into another type of liberation army, even more feared by the mullahs, a freedom and human rights political organization fighting with the power of principles and values, shielding with the power of words, touching the hearts and souls of women and men in Iran, to the point that today the MEK is recognized and respected throughout the world. The Iranian resistance is today at the forefront of the world fight for gender equality, freedom, and peace. With Miriam Rajavi, the resistance has a place today at the table of worldwide leaders, women and men, committed to change the state of the world. Politicians, influencers, journalists, academics, NGOs leaders, all listening to Miriam Rajavi's 10-point plan to bring democracy, respect, and greatness back to Iran, supporting her in her plight, because she has proven that women could be successful in uniting and leading the democratic fight against one of the most cruel examples of terror state abuse in this day and age. What is striking is that Miriam Rajavi brought the light to the fight of millions of silenced and gagged Iranian women, excluded, battered, and kidnapped by the misogynistic laws of the Mobile. Because we are not talking about a few stars in Iran, but of a generation of women who are now playing a leading role in the world. Look at the iconic case of Saba, who said, "We shall stand to the end." Here we have a modern hero of the resistance, a light in the darkness, a cry that stands for millions of silent feminine voices. Let's pay attention to the growing number of women-resistant movements that are forming in Iran. They are increasingly active in Iran, fighting against armed and violent death squadrons of the regime. All over Iran, we see women showing their faces in a defiant and brave attitude, facing the struggle as the Iranian modern freedom fighters. They are the ones giving example to all of us, of the world, committed to change. These Iranian women are playing a leading role in the anti-regime protests in Iran. They are at the front lines, showing the way. With them, from the darkness of the prison, women political prisoners are also assuming, voicing their brave opposition to the regime. The world is facing an unprecedented liberation civil war, with the growing popular discontent, with more activities joining the resistance units of the MEK, and protests all over the country, even in charge and at the front. Today, the mullah's regime is in sheer difficulty, and the prospect for change is brighter than ever. Therefore, time for the world community to unite and act. We call on the UN Security Council, and especially to the US government and to President Biden and to the European countries to change their current conciliatory and appeasement dealing with the mullah's regime. This is a call especially to Emmanuel Macron, the French president. Like in the Ukraine case, the women of the world, we are demanding not to bow, but to stand united against tyranny and violence. In the case of Iran, the world must bring to an end this shameful approach under the pretext of reaching a nuclear agreement. We have learned that the more the world leaders concede, the more tyrants feel empowered. It's time to align ourselves with the people, with Iranians, with Ukrainians, with people. Because even if these cases are different, and Iran has not been invaded by a foreign country, the Iranian people are besieged and under attack, all the same. The way the world has to confront and stop Russian unjustifiable aggression must to a new way of confronting and stopping all tyrannies around the world. The world is changing here and now, supporting the democratic alternative against the ruling oppressor of the Iranian people, supporting the Iranian resistance, supporting the MEK is our duty as women, as mothers, as caretakers of the world. Let's stand, as we have always done, together against tyranny. From Colombia, with love and hope. Desde Colombia, con amor y esperanza.
ماریا کاروالهو-وزیر پیشین علوم و آموزش عالی پرتغال. در ایران فرار مغزها مسئله بسیار جدی است که شامل حال بسیاری از دختران و زنان می شود. ایرانیان بسیار مستعد ایران را ترک می‌کنند.
Good afternoon. I would like to thank the organizers for the kind invitation to be with you today. We are starting a week where we celebrate the role of women and their contribution for peace, democracy, and well-being in the society. Unfortunately, we are undergoing for difficult times, war times, where once again women, children, and elderly people are suffering immensely. During my career, both professional and political career, I have worked hard to promote the role of women in society, with a special emphasis of women in science, engineering, and entrepreneurship, and also in political leadership and decision-making. As a university professor of mechanical engineer at University of Lisbon, I did many actions to attract more women to engineer degrees. And as a minister with the responsibility of higher education, research and innovation in Portugal, I have promoted strategies and programs to attract more women to science. And we have succeeded. In my parliamentary work, I have developed reports, introduced amendments with the objective to attract more women to science, engineer, digital, to improve the working conditions, and to avoid brain drain. We assist to the brain drain phenomenon in many parts of the world. In Iran, brain drain is a very serious matter and includes a lot of girls and women. Many talented Iranians leave Iran, scientists, doctors, engineers, and mathematicians. In November 2019, the president of the Scientific Olympiad of Medical Students in Iran said that annually more than 1,500 educated specialists immigrate out of Iran. I really wish that soon Iran creates more opportunities for younger generation, and that Iranian women and Iranian girls would not face discrimination. To conclude, I would like to express my solidarity with women all over the world, and a special word for the Iranian women, for the mothers and the teachers of Iran that are key actors for the promotion of tolerance, democracy, and peace. Thank you very much.
فرانسیس تانزند، معاون رئیس جمهور آمریکا 2008. کانون‌های شورشی دیوار اختناق را در ایران در هم می‌شکنند و هر ایرانی را ترغیب می‌کنند که هر کس سهم خود را در مبارزه ادا کند.
Good afternoon. Mrs. Rajavi, thank you so much for having me. It is a real honor to continue to be able to support the women of the resistance. Happy International Women's Day to everyone there and to those watching around the world, especially to our sisters in Iran. It really is a most incredible time to me. The women of the world lead the resistance for freedom everywhere we can imagine, whether it's Kurdish women, whether it's Ukrainian women in the fight against Russia right now, or it is in Iran, where they are in danger every single day simply for their beliefs. I continue to be humbled by the selfless dedication and courage of the women in Iran who fight every single day for choice, for freedom, or to overthrow the repressive, misogynist government that they must live under right now. Those courageous women are standing up in a myriad of ways against the misogynist regime. It's interesting to me on this International Women's Day, I think about the risks that Iranian women continue to take, the women of the resistance each day, whether it is participating in the protests of the farmers in Isfahan, or it is the teachers' protests in over 100 cities. Each of these women taking risks for themselves, for their families. And despite all that, we see the ranks of the women in the resistance growing, continuing to grow, more women joining this fight every single day. These resistance units are breaking down the walls of repression in Iran and encouraging everyone in Iran to do their part, just even if it is only to commit small acts of resistance. Those small acts of resistance add up to crumble the walls of the misogynist regime. The miserable plight of women in Iran, however, has further motivated them to become more active. In some cases, many of you there and listening around the world, playing leading roles, and I am humbled to be with you. Although I am not there, you must know, I continue to stand shoulder to shoulder with you in this fight, and will until the day we actually are able to meet for International Women's Day in Tehran. It is not at all surprising that the sharp edge of the regime's repressive and discriminatory policies are directed against women for their courage and for their willingness to speak out. I would also be remiss if I did not talk about the United States. We must acknowledge, we must see that the engagement of the United States with Ibrahim Raisi, who is responsible for so many crimes against humanity and for his role in the 1988 massacre of MEK supporters in prison, is offensive. We should not, and we must not, engage with him in continuing nuclear talks. We can no longer sit idly by and see the disturbing, horrible images of women abused, shot, beaten in the streets of Iran, and think that this is somehow a separate issue. We must have the courage of our convictions that until the women in Iran are treated equally, we will not tolerate and we will not engage that regime anymore. Mrs. Rajavi, I continue to be humbled by your courage and your strength and those of the women of the resistance. I wish you a happy International Women's Day, and I hope that we can be together next year. Thank you.